Good morning, everyone. Here with us again, Mr. Dr. Joachim Stellmach, as an expert from the SES. He was very knowledgeable in the patent law area. We know him as the examiner in the German and European Patent Office, instructor at the patent offices, and also the tutor at the branch office of the European Patent Office in The Hague. And here, again, to have you here, it's such a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much to have this another podcast with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, but in these very sessions, we will talk a lot about the patent law in international regimes. We do understand that you already give a lecturing sessions about how is it to prove the inventive system, inventive products according to the EPC in EPO, and how is it to be the examiner to decide whether the inventive is there yet or not. But we're looking forward to hear more from you about patent law in international regimes. We do understand that there is PCT, and as a nation, Indonesia has already ratified the PCT on 1997. But can you please do explain how exactly the PCT system itself?
According to my knowledge, we have the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, which is situated in Geneva, Switzerland. And WIPO is responsible for the PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty, which is now, it always changes because there are more members. According to my knowledge, 157 countries which are eligible by one patent application. So the PCT is, of course, most interesting for big companies. As far as I saw some application numbers, big companies file several thousand PCT applications per year at the European Patent Office, taking into account some 188,000 patent applications per year, but a lot of them are actually PCT applications. Well, the rest, those who saw the lecture, I showed that at least for inventive step PCT, the PCT guidelines are completely identical with the guidelines of the European Patent Convention. Many other things are very, very similar. There are very few differences between the PCT guidelines and the EPC guidelines. Normally, PCT guidelines are produced in 3 languages, German, English, French. But when I worked in Mexico, I also found that there is, in the meantime, a Spanish version, because Spanish becomes very important for PCT too.
Mm-hmm. So, what's make its difference between the one who's signing the PCTs and not?
The PCT, or
the nations who's become the member, the one that signing the PCT and the one that not signing the PCT. What's the advantage of having the PCTs to be signed?
You have to file an additional application in that country where, well, if you're not member of the PCT, you will not be affected by the patents. So the applicant who wishes to file a patent in a country which is not member of the PCT, he'll have to file a different application.
Yeah.
But with the PCT, you can include all the country you wish. I mean, it's rare that all 157 countries are involved, but even not every European country will be interesting for big companies. And they make, for example, there are many patent applications, even in the EPC, where only big countries are involved, Germany, France, Great Britain, Italy, and so on. So many patents are not, because you have to pay for every country. So many of the small countries are not taken into account for a PCT application or then for the European phase. But the main difference is you are not affected by the PCT if you're not member of the PCT, and it has to be if your patent if you want a patent in the country which is not a PCT country, then you have to file an additional application.
What precisely the additional application itself? Does it means that because you already told us that the PCT regime is quite similar to the ECP1, and when it comes to the technical issues, it's kind of similar, right? Can we sum up that actually by having PCTs to be signed, you do not need to prove the technical aspect in regards of the innovations no more, only the registrations issues, and then to ratify it in the national patent regimes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the PCT has two phases. You have the international phase, which is done only by 4 or 5 offices, and then you have the national phase. And in the national phase, this PCT application goes to the national patent offices, which is then treated according to the national law.
So what do you think the ultimate consequences by signing the PCT? I know that you already assigned in this our neighbor countries, Malaysia. It's on our neighborhood, the neighborhood of beloved Southeast Asia, right? Can you tell us further? Can you tell a story about the consequences of signing PCT and how your experience could teach us much on how we actually take it very seriously?
Well, when I was invited to spend a couple of months in the Malaysian Patent Office, I can only tell you what I was informed. I was informed that Malaysia had signed TRIPS, and they had problems with accepting all what is promised by TRIPS to treat patents of all foreign competitors in Malaysia. So I was told, hoping that this is the truth, they addressed the European Commission. The European Commission addressed the European Patent Office, and then there were patent officers in the Malaysian Patent Office for a couple of, I think, 3 years. And the European Patent Office developed a strategy for the Malaysian Patent Office to be in a position to treat foreign patents as quick as possible. So that is maybe the consequence if you do not pay absolutely attention what is said in the TRIPS contract.
Yeah, we actually the member of we already signed the TRIPS and both in PCT, but maybe you would like to have some opinion about how is it different between Malaysian patent law system and here what we have in Indonesia. Any opinion?
Until now, I couldn't find big differences. I think, as far as I remember, the Malaysian Patent Act, it's very similar to the Indonesian Patent Act, unless it has been amended during the last. It's 20 years ago that it was in Malaysia, so possibly it was amended. But at that time, it was quite similar to the Indonesian Patent Office, to Patent Act as it is today.
Okay, so it's quite similar. But do you have any opinion in regards what makes a patent law system effective or not in the countries?
This has to be decided by the country itself. As we discussed it this morning. The Indonesian Patent Act is still on a level as the German Patent Act was in the 70s. So it was the paradigm of non-patenting life is still in the Indonesian Patent Act. This was given up in the German Patent Act by accepting to patent microbiological strains. As soon as you accept that, then you patent life. And then it continues. I mean, the discussion today about biopatents is a discussion which goes forth and back. Patents are granted, patents are revoked. So the situation is not at all clear. And I'm sure there will be changes within the next years too. So can I conclude that actually, even though the TRIPS has already been signed, the PCT has already been signed, the details of the regulations itself is
playing pivotal role for a country to develop their inventive or is that correct? Can I conclude that way?
Yeah, I think that's my personal opinion. One of the most important things for patent law is reasonable treatment of inventive step, reasonable assessment of inventive step, because it has so many consequences for patent law, for the applicants, for innovation as such. I mean, if you grant a patent, you accept a limited access, but protection for limited time. So that is only acceptable if you really contribute to innovation. And if you have bad patents with low inventive step, you risk that people say, I have to pay a lot and my patent is not valid. So, well, there are some other consequences, patent trolls and so on. So this is really a crucial point in patent law. It is some people. The problem is that inventive step has a bad reputation. Some people say it's impossible to judge it. Some people say it's subjective, totally objective. So that's why I try to develop this graphical interpretation of the problem solution approach, which is used in the European Patent Office, which is used in PCT guidelines, which is used in similar forms in a lot of countries, in a lot of patent acts. But as far as I remember, the Indonesian Patent Act just says inventive step has to be there. It has not to be obvious. This is a bit well, that could be improved.
Yeah. Okay. So, what could you elaborate precisely? What are still required? Yeah, for the patent to be effective. First, microbiological, because it is now the trend of, and it is how is it going in European patent law system? And then the second device, medical, technical. What do you? Yeah,
you are allowed to have patent claims on microbiological strains, and then that was then the next step. Patents on uses, second medical use claims. So you have a well-known pharmaceutical drug, and someone finds out that there is another pharmaceutical activity which is not comparable with the first one, then you can, according to European patent law, and I think it's also in some other patent acts, you can have a patent for that use, for the development of a drug, for the treatment of a disease. And there's a special form of the claims, but in the end, it's a use claim, a second medical use. But then the next step was a second non-medical use, also something which is known for a non-medical use. You can patent it for another non-medical use. So all this is, of course, excluded from patent protection in the Indonesian patent law.
Okay, so that's the difference. Can I also ask you, here we have so many diversity in regards of the species, and then so many kinds of plants, and then and then when it comes to patents, you already talk about the microbiological. That is also something that could be patent according to the EPC. But how could you divert a microbiological as an invention and a discovery? So let's say here in Indonesia we find another species of the spice, some kind of specialized species in terms of the what do you call it? Rimpang tadi. Some curcuma, but it's another different species. Can we count it as a patent medicine, or is it not inventive but discovery?
Under the European patent law, you could patent it, but here, since you're still excluding anything living, you couldn't patent the plant. What you could patent is a product. You could have a patent, a product claim, powder, then you have to specify what it is according to have several specifications. The powder, the product itself could be patented, I think, under Indonesian patent law, but not the plant. The plant could be patented under European patent law, but even it would even go so far that you could patent parts of the human body, but not in the sense that this part of the human body would belong to you when you have the patent, but that you can use what is produced, for example, by parts of the human body. That's the difference. You will not become the owner of someone else using this. But as I told you, this is all a field which is highly discussed. There are a lot of decisions, a lot of discussions. And I think at the moment there is no general point of view. A lot of discussions. You have differences in all countries, and there will be changes in the future.
Yeah. Well, that's quite inspiring, because if we take a look more about our potential and also the tendency of our market, it would be necessary, to also consider that microbiological as one of the patentable factors. The very last question, sir. You already initiate the conversations in regards of the trips when you are coming to Malaysia. But then there's a big discussions amongst the academicians, especially when it comes to the pandemic era, the COVID-19 last COVID-19, it is widely discussed that the TRIPS is only favorable for the developed countries, where the most of the shareholders of the big pharmacies is nestled and by then I would like to ask, in what way exactly the TRIPS playing pivotal role also to define the regimes of patent law in the South world?
You see, the main point is you have to make a decision what you want. If you want to grant patents for vaccines, then of course you must take into account that if you want to sell these vaccines in countries who cannot pay the price which can be paid in Europe or the United States, you will run into problems. And India was an example where drugs in the beginning were sold at prices comparable in the States and Europe, and that was impossible. So the same would refer to vaccines. If you have a patent on vaccines and you want to sell them in a country where the prices are not acceptable for social reasons, you will not be able to sell them. So you have to go down with the price, or possibly the countries will not, if they really need the drug, they will produce it against patent laws.
But is there limitations in regards of the monopoly system that is resulted by the patent scheme in terms of international regimes when we talk about TRIPS?
Officially not. Officially not. I mean, if you are the holder of the patent, if you are the patentee, you have the right, and if you have a patent in that country, you have the right to ask for the price. But whether that is wise, that is another question. And in that, what I heard is that in India, for example, the big companies from Europe went down with their prices in order to sell. Whether that is the only solution, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I said last questions, but this is actually another one. And indeed, this is the very last one. What do you think that WIPO could actually harmonizing the regimes of the patent law between each countries?
I can only come back to the one concern that was something which I was always working about when I was examiner. I think for the whole patent system, one of the crucial points is inventive step. And I would expect that an organization like WIPO would be interesting to harmonize such an important step, an important part of the patent law, because I mean, valid patents are very important for the big companies, but in particular for the small and medium-sized companies. If they cannot rely on patents, they are lost. Big companies have a lot of financial possibilities, but the small and medium-sized companies, if they cannot rely on patents, they file a patent, they get a patent, and they find that it's not valid or it's falling into the patent of a big company, then they are lost financially. So I think inventive step has so many negative consequences if it's not taken into account reasonably, that I think WIPO should be interested in having a common approach to inventive step, and in as many countries as possible. That's my personal opinion. That would make patent law more secure, and it would help the patent society to be on the safe side for patents. I mean, is it helpful if you ask for a patent in different countries, in different patent systems, and you might get the answer not inventive and inventive in two different countries? I think that's not very helpful. So I think here WIPO would do a good job if they would try to find a solution for as many countries as possible.
Okay, nice to know. I think it's all wrapped. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Joachim, for answering all of the questions. And then we are looking forward to have another collaborations with you. Thank you.